Hey, this is Little John. I'm from East Tennessee, and I'm trying to get a word in edgewise with the leadership of the Forward Party. This video is supposed to be something of an open letter of me expressing my interest in the Forward Party and wanting to provide some suggestion about how I think the Forward Party could really strategically move itself more seriously into the forefront of American political life if it gives some good consideration to what I'm about to put forward. So, the crux of what I want to put on your agenda for consideration is a principle called electoral fusion. And what electoral fusion means is that a candidate for political office, and in my case, I'm only interested in looking at this for executive offices, which are supposed to represent in a singular position the whole body politic, like the presidency or the state governor. To some extent, I could also say that I would advocate for this in the context of local mayors, but my interest is primarily state governors and the president of the United States. The benefit that I see and why I think the Forward Party really should be looking at this is that the executive office holder, let's say the president, needs to have clear information through the official electoral process about where his mandate lies. When Donald Trump was elected to his second term in office, he said that he was elected by a landslide and that he had an overwhelming mandate from the American people. Now, if by that he meant that he had an overwhelming mandate from the American people to enact a centrist political agenda, that would be entirely true. But that's not what he's advocating. That was not what he was meaning. What he was saying, at least the way that I understood that, is that he had so far gained the trust of the majority of the American people that he was, on account of winning the election, therefore justified in enacting whatever policy he had. Now, I'm not going to criticize him too much for that because I think ultimately there is truth in saying he won by a clear and uncontestable margin and a majority. But it seems to me that the electoral process needs to provide clear information about where the mandate lies. And in order to do that most succinctly, I think for executive offices, that chief executive holding the center of authority for the execution of the laws of the state or the nation, who claims to have the mandate of the people, needs to be able to see through the voting record where that mandate lies. If it remains the case that the political party establishment is the vehicle that pushes this president or governor into office exclusively, that the vote is tallied that this many people voted for the Republican candidate, that's a serious issue, because it says that the mandate that the president has is a Republican mandate, and that's not true. It isn't. That's not true. The mandate lies in the balance between the interests of the Republican Party and the centrists who import their votes from other places and other allegiances to support a candidate that he or she thinks is the best in respect to the choices that he has for this election. And so I would have liked if you can imagine what it would have been if Donald Trump had won the election with the same proportion of votes, and yet half of those votes were tallied from Republican voters, and the other half of those votes was tallied through a stream that was provided by an independent political organization independent in terms of not being underneath the Republican Party. The news media would have at least had something to say about the fact that he won 25% of votes through, let's say, through the Republican channel, and then 30% of votes through the moderate coalition channel that would have been provided there. And although I'm not entirely sure that it would have made a difference in the policies that he has implemented, the very least that it would have accomplished is that the people who voted for him from a centrist position would be able to say, hey, I voted for you this way. I did not vote for you as a Republican president. I voted for you as a moderate. And that is where your mandate lies. And to be able to have that kind of conscientious leverage would be the starting point of being able to hold political leadership accountable toward the middle. And I believe that it would be much more easy to achieve that coalition stream rather as opposed to simply pioneering a third-party candidate who's going to be marginalized, as people did in the last election with Kennedy saying, if you vote for him or any other third party, what you're effectively doing is you're giving more room in proportion to our adversaries. So if you don't vote for Harris, you're effectively voting for Trump. If you don't vote for Trump, you're effectively voting for Harris. Therefore, vote for Trump or Harris because you don't want the other one to get elected, because we all know that that's what's going to happen. Like, until that dynamic changes, electoral fusion, I think, is the way going forward. And I would really like the Forward Party, especially your leadership, to be looking at how can you, through legitimate means, but maybe non-conventional means, through secondary provisions in the law, such as uncommitted delegates in electoral assemblies. Like, I would like to advocate for you to consider strategizing around these alternative means. And if you are interested in looking at this within the state of Tennessee, please know that you have somebody here that's ready on hand to help you out. Thank you very much.